Hi, Spencer Ackerman from TPM Media. We're right outside the Afghan Embassy in Northwest Washington, D.C., and although everything looks placid, there's kind of an old ghost that surrounds this particular embassy. In 1996, I believe, after the Taliban's coup that led them to take power in Afghanistan, this embassy was the home of some fierce fighting, actually literally fighting, between employees at the embassy who were loyal to the old Rabbani government and those loyal to the Taliban. It was something of a violent standoff that ended eventually with the Rabbani supporters thrown out of the embassy, and shortly thereafter the United States broke off ties with the Taliban government in Afghanistan, and the embassy stayed fallow and didn't open again until 2002, and it required the help of some students from George Washington University and from Habitat for Humanity to get this incredibly lovely and ornate building back up to the standards that it now enjoys under Ambassador Jawad. Let's go talk with him. We're here with probably one of the most important dignitaries in Washington in foreign policy questions and national security, Ambassador Said Jawad of Afghanistan. He does Talking Points memo very proud by gracing us with his presence for our interview today. One of the things that we've been talking about this week has of course been the Iraq debate as it's been going forward in Congress. And yet we noticed throughout that debate how Afghanistan, the place where the war on terrorism started, has gotten such short shrift, not just this year with the Iraq focus, but really over the last several. And we're very excited to have Ambassador Jawad to tell us a lot about what's going on in Afghanistan now, what we in the United States need to be focused on, what the press has neglected, and other issues. Thanks very much to everyone who's written in with things that they wanted me to address today in our interview, and we can get a lot of good dialogue and back and forth going on with the Ambassador. Mr. Ambassador, it's a very fluid time, it seems, for Afghanistan, for the U.S. mission there. I noticed that recently the former American ambassador, Ronald Newman, your counterpart, was recently quoted as saying the mission in Afghanistan could be either an audacious success or a dismal failure. What's your assessment?
We are facing some security challenges, there's no doubt, and some of these security challenges are creating the perception that the situation in Afghanistan is worse than what it is really.
I wonder what your assessment is of al-Qaeda's strategy of trying to reassert some measure of control over Afghanistan. Does al-Qaeda have a point that perhaps it might find a new foothold there again?
One nation that knows exactly what al-Qaeda is about is Afghanistan. We have suffered from the criminal element of al-Qaeda and all other extremists in Afghanistan for more than 20 years. A lot of unwanted Arab elements were sent to Afghanistan to shore up resistance against the Soviets. Al-Qaeda helped Taliban to come to power. So there's absolutely no prospect for Al-Qaeda to re-establish its base in Afghanistan again, because we know what their mission is about. They're killer, they're criminal, and Afghanistan was once their base. They've terrorized, they've victimized the Afghan people. They're working with Taliban and some other criminal elements in Afghanistan, but even the Taliban have no prospect and are not planning on becoming back in Afghanistan as a government, because had they had a plan to be a government in Afghanistan, if they were a serious threat for Afghanistan, if they were an alternative, a second option for Afghanistan, they would have not killed an innocent Afghan journalist, they would have not beheaded an Afghan driver. By doing these acts, they are actually eliminating any chance of popular support in Afghanistan.
Something that I noticed in the press recently was that there are elements within the American military presence who recognize that around Helmand province there's something of a green zone for the Taliban in which they still retain areas of operation that they find safe enough. To what degree can this remain to be the case without fearing a reinfiltration and a successful reinfiltration in terms of operational security for al-Qaeda, for the Taliban as it expands out from there and challenges the Karzai government?
No, it is. You're absolutely right. It is a threat. It is a threat to provide any kind of room for their operation, and the fact that this room has been provided to them as due to on one hand due to the fact that we don't have enough international soldiers to be in Afghanistan, and the most important part is also that the Afghan government still does not have the full capacity to deliver services, to be present, and to do whatever it's necessary according to the national priorities of Afghanistan.
5 years after the Bonn Conference, the establishment of the Karzai government, what does the international community still need to do in terms of getting the presence of the Afghan government felt throughout the entire country? Friends of mine have come back from Afghanistan and describe going out to the countryside and feeling absolutely no connection, no presence being established by the Afghan government. To what degree can this be mitigated, and what will it require over the course of the next however many years by the international community?
No, the observation may seem to be right when you look at the surface. But when you look at really deeply, we have more than 86% of eligible voters in Afghanistan have participated in electing their president. We have a very active, a very viable parliament in place. The president of Afghanistan appoints every chief of police, every governor, every official all over the country. But the problem is, the issue is that the Afghan government has not been provided with adequate resources to deliver services. If you are paying like $40 to a police officer in Afghanistan, you're not going to be able to recruit a lot of qualified people if they can be a translator for an NGO and make at least $300 to $600. So why they will take the tough job of being a police officer to be in a tough province? And if they take the job, chances are that they're corrupt or they don't do their job properly. So it's really a matter of investing in building the capacity of the government.
Doesn't that understate the problem somewhat? I mean, the UN Security Council in November of 2006, I believe, said that Afghanistan was really on the verge of becoming a failed state. On the failed states index, you've risen from 11 to number 8, I believe. To what degree is appointing qualified people and strengthening institutions something that really takes place outside of the realm of platitude and in the realm of state building, as you described?
No. Well, if we look where Afghanistan was 5, 6 years ago, and if you look at the trend, if you look at the economy of Afghanistan have grown more than double-digit, average 16% in the past 5 years. If you look at the 4.5 million refugees have returned to Afghanistan. Why they've returned if the condition is getting worse? Well, 6 million children are going back to school. These are clear evidence of things improving, but it's going to be a slow process.
How long will it take, and at what level of resources will it require for Afghanistan to get back into a position of development, of stability, of a functioning government that any Afghan throughout the country can look to and understand that the protections of the state are there for him or her?
Our expectations are very realistic. We would like to increase the per capita income of Afghans only to $500. We think that by each Afghan having a per capita income of $500, which is twice the amount that we have right now, about $270 per capita income right now, we will have enough vested interest in stability in Afghanistan that people will not go to criminal activities such as narcotics or other violence. It means effective assistance to Afghanistan in the range of $3 billion per year. But
for how long?
For 5 to 6 years. 5 to 6 years, provided that this money is also used efficiently.
Looking back over the last several years, the Iraq War has obviously taken a tremendous amount of attention away from Afghanistan, a tremendous amount of resources. What do you want to see as the U.S. now debates what its future in Iraq will be, in reference to how the United States should balance its commitment to Afghanistan? What do you want to see the U.S. commitment to Afghanistan remain over the course of whatever time frame you'd like to elaborate upon?
Afghanistan is not Iraq, certainly. The partnership between Afghanistan and the United States dates way back. We have fought together communism in Afghanistan. You have provided us with valuable assistance. We are very much grateful for that. And without your assistance, we would have not been able to send the Russians out of Afghanistan. But then, after the Russians were gone, after the Soviet Union collapsed, it was perceived that Afghanistan is too far and too insignificant. It was a wrong assumption. Afghanistan, because of the negligence of the international community, became a hub of terror, and the prime victim were Afghans. We hope that the same mistake is not committed again in Afghanistan. And
do you think there's a danger of the United States neglecting Afghanistan to a point where it falls back into chaos and instability?
the assurances that we get from the new leadership in the Congress, from U.S. administration, and particularly from the American people, they do draw a clear distinction between Afghans and others, and also between the situation in Afghanistan and other countries. This is what we are counting for, that people really do see how much the Afghan people have suffered, how much they want to build a partnership with the international community. We are very realistic. We know that we will not be able to build our country without the assistance and the partnership of the rest of the world. Afghanistan was destroyed because of the global games. The Soviets came to a poor country like Afghanistan because of much bigger game that was going on. Al-Qaeda came to Afghanistan not because of Afghanistan, because of their much bigger international agenda. We have suffered because of these international agendas. Now it's time also for the international community to welcome our hand that's extended for friendship. The fact that Afghans are asking for the friendship and the assistance and the partnership of the world is an important asset in a world where everybody is trying to build wall. We are building bridges.